Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, the DRF race of the day for Tuesday, September the 6th. Race number 10 at Colonial Downs. We're going 1 1/8 miles on the turf. It's the Grade 3, $300,000 Virginia Derby. We'll be back with the full preview after this brief message.
Want to view free Formulator past performances for this race? Head to the Race of the Day page at DRF.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel and bet this card with DRF Bets.
Here is the field for the Virginia Derby. Scan the QR code for Race of the Day access on your mobile devices. Mike, it is a nice big field. It is a very competitive race. You've got some big barns in here with some informed horses.
Yeah, pretty good race overall for, a bunch of horses who obviously feels like they, most of them still have an awful lot to prove, but there's a lot of potential in here.
And there is a real sharp horse on the far outside. The number 11, Grand David, brings a 3-race win streak into the Virginia Derby. All 3 of those races run over the Tapeta surface at Gulfstream Park. He has speed, and Timeform US believes that he's going to use that speed from the far outside post to make the early lead. Camp David, another horse trying turf for the first time, might be forwardly placed. Wow, What a Summer is tactical. But there are a few horses in here that could dispute the pace. Even Catnip the 5 has some speed.
Yeah, I thought the pace could at least be solid in this race. Being drawn to the far outside, I guess, probably isn't, a great thing for Grand David. But he's also got to prove that he's as good on turf as he is on the other surface, especially, now maybe he's just a better horse now, Dan, but he's still got to prove that he's as good on turf.
A colt that certainly has the quality to win a race like this is the number 1, Royal Patronage, getting Lasix for the first time for trainer Graham Motion. This horse is a group stakes winner overseas. He's been very tough in his 2 recent starts, the Belmont Derby, the Saratoga Derby. He rallied last time out, kind of got bounced around at the break, saved ground. Those horses a little too good for him.
Yeah, I don't think either of his last 2 performances are poor at all, and they're against really, really good horses. This is certainly class relief for Royal Patronage. And it's also interesting, Dan, his last 4 starts, all between 1 3/16 and 1.5 miles, and he's run fine in those races for the most part. But I wonder if, just going a little bit shorter really helps this horse. I think this is a great spot for him.
The 2, Wow, What a Summer, pulled off an 83-1 upset over Bottomless going in the Grade 2 Penn Mile 3 starts back. It was softer than soft. If it wasn't Penn Mile Day, they wouldn't have run that race on the turf. Wow, What a Summer not only really loved that going, he got a really nice trip under Tyler Connor that day as well. His 2 subsequent starts against tough horses on firmer ground have not been as good.
They really haven't. It's not like he gets significant clash relief here either, Dan. He's just a horse who he has that one big win on his card, but he's still got a lot to prove.
Up next is a horse trying turf for the first time, the number 3, Van Scholars. Now, they got washed off last time out. He made them pay with a beautiful front-running ride from Jorge Ruiz in the Bald Eagle Derby. He's by Holy Boss, 0 for 14 with first-time turf runners. He is a half-to-a-stakes winning turf sprinter, but against a tough big field like this, it's kind of a big ask for a very good trainer.
Yeah, very good trainer, and obviously that feels like they wanted to get this horse on turf, and he did take a pretty big step forward last time in his 3-year-old debut. This is just a really tough spot for him, Dan. I thought he was hard to like.
The 4, California Frolic, a son of Kentucky Derby and Preakness winner California Chrome, comes into this race in very good form. Stakes winner on turf 3-back. Stakes winner on Gulfstream's Tapeta 2-back. May not have had the greatest trip when beaten last time out by Grand David in that Bear's Den. It was a race where he was kind of hung out wide on the first turn, had to make an early move 3 wide in between horses on the second turn, and then just was simply second best.
Yeah, I think he was just second best in there. I don't know. That Bear's Den isn't a race that I'm a big fan of, although, it was on a different surface. So you could be a little forgiving. This horse has run once on turf. He won a stakes race on the surface. I can't say that I loved the English Channel, but you can't argue that this horse might just be better on this surface.
Catnip is up next. He has a lovely pedigree. He's a half to Princess Grace by Kitten's Joy, and he won his second lifetime start at Colonial. Off a little bit of a layoff, they found a really good maiden special weight spot for him, and he got a great trip and ride. Javian Toledo realized there was no pace in this race. They went to half at almost 50. He sat second off the horse they had to beat. He took a good bump in mid-stretch, but kept right on going. This horse is all upside. The question is this too much too soon?
Yeah, obviously they're showing a lot of confidence in him here, Dan. They're going to step him right up off the maiden win. I liked his win last time, but he did overall it was a perfect trip. And it's not like it was, the most impressive maiden win I've ever seen. I wonder if this is a little bit too much for him.
First-time Lasix for another third-time starter. That's the number 6, Marwad, who was a debut winner over the Tapeta, going 2 turns at Gulfstream, and then ran just fine to be third behind Grand David and California Frolic in the Bears Den. He's another horse with a lot of upside, trying turf for the first time, but certainly bred for it.
He is really bred for it. I suppose if I was, going to take anyone out of that Bears Den, I would take this horse, but I don't think I'm taking any of them.
Unanimous Consent ships down from New York for trainer Chad Brown. He won his first 3 lifetime starts, then tasted defeat most recently in the Pennine Ridge at Belmont. Now, mile and an eighth races over the inner turf. It's very tough to win from an outside post position. Unanimous Consent was kind of chasing a slow pace while wide. He had a look at it, but then he flattened out in the stretch. This is a better spot.
Yeah, I think it is too. I was a little disappointed in his Pennine Ridge, but that overall, I guess that was a pretty good field, Dan. I don't know. I could go either way on this horse. I'll wait and see how they bet this thing. If he takes a ton of money, I'm probably fading him. I thought he looked good winning that Woodhaven 2 starts back. I just don't like the Woodhaven as a race overall.
We always mention on these Race of the Day and Stake preview videos to keep an eye on trainer Michael Maker when he acquires a horse, usually via the claim. They bought the number 8 Camp David for $130,000 after his most recent start, where he was simply overmatched by Cyberknife in the Matt Win. Cyberknife would come back to win the Haskell, run an excellent second in the Travers. There's a little bit of turf in this pedigree. This dam's a half to decked out who won the American Oaks.
Yeah, I think there is enough turf here for this horse to be really interesting in this race. He's actually okay on dirt. You have to feel like that these connections purchased this horse with a plan to make him a turf horse, and here they are.
You're allowed to race on Lasix in graded stakes races at Colonial Downs. That may help the 9 limited liability, who has only raced once before with the anti-bleeding medication, and that resulted in a victory at Keeneland 3 starts back. He is a true one-run closer, and last time out in the Belmont Derby, he ran okay. He was probably in a little bit too tough. I think this is a better spot for him.
I do too. We'll see if he can work out a trip in this race because his running style is problematic to say the least. It's nice class race for him. You can go back to the Pennine Ridge 2 starts back and easily argue that he was best in there with really no chance to win, trying to close into a crawling pace. I loved his return from the layoff at Keeneland this year. I thought he ran huge that day. I think this horse is really good. We'll see if he gets a trip.
The number 10 is Capensis, a son of Tappet. He sold for $2 million as a yearling. It took him a long time to get to the races. He won his career debut going 2 turns on turf back on July the 2nd. He beat a couple of next out winners. Now, most recently, they ran him as the only 3-year-old in a field of older first-level allowance horses. He broke from the outside post. He was hung out wide going into the first turn, but I thought after that he didn't lose too much ground. He just kind of was one-paced.
Yeah, I don't like that last race from him, even with all the excuses that you could make for him if you wanted to. He was, on the outside the entire trip in there. And maybe it compromised him, Dan. I still didn't think he ran that well, and I don't like that race overall. We saw several horses from that allowance field come back last weekend at Saratoga, and none of them ran that well. I don't know. I just don't like that race. He was visually impressive in his career debut. He did have a great setup that day, closing into a fast pace. I don't know. I just don't like his last race enough to take him back again.
Grand David might be the now horse in this race. He's won his last 3, including this effort on the Tapeta on July the 30th. This is the aforementioned Bears Den Stakes. Grand David was forward from the start. He turns into the stretch. He's going to turn back his pace-prompting challenger. You're going to see California Frolic sort of move into second at the very end of this race. Marwad's going to run late. This was really improved moving back to the synthetic. He has to prove it on turf against better horses.
Right. I mean, we'll see what kind of price he is at the morning line. I could just never take him down. I get that he's taken steps forward in his last 3 starts, but they're on a different surface. His turf races do absolutely nothing for me.
Before we get to our top selections, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for the latest DRFTV video franchises. Here are our top picks for Tuesday's Race of the Day, the Grade 3 $300,000 Virginia Derby. Royal Patronage, little class relief, little distance relief. Should get a fair pace to run at.
I think this is the right spot for this horse. I'm going to take him on top, and we'll see, what kind of price you can get on this horse. I was between him and limited liability, Dan. I think this horse will probably get the better trip.
And he might actually be a better price at post time. I want to use him as well. I landed on a bigger priced horse. The 5 Catnip has a lot to prove. It's only his 3rd lifetime start. Beautiful pedigree. Think he has some tactical speed and a world of upside. 1975 for Mike, 5174 for me. Should be a fun race. It is the Virginia Derby at Colonial on Tuesday. Good luck.